We can edit
Sure.
off what we don't like, but
All right.
until then,
Are we good?
we're going.
Okay. All right, everyone. This is the Moderates number 5. Reluctantly, we have to say that after last week.
A whole
Tanner screwed up the audio.
We have a
But,
whole episode of visual gold, the standard on high definition video, just without the horrible audio this time. We
solved
spared
world,
you.
world hunger last week, and no one's ever going to know about it.
Yeah, it was actually a really good episode last week. We had a guest too. Like we had a second guest for the show. He came out all the way for nothing. Records this. It was an hour long. It was actually maybe the shortest. It's a very different episode, and it's too bad it's gone. There's some really good funny parts in there too, and then some poignant parts.
And the issue with it is that if you try to emulate it, then you lose the authenticity of it. So I think it just kind of has to come up and manifest itself on its own. Or else.
In this lost episode, actually comment below if you guys want us to upload this noiseless miming of a show.
Because I can do that.
If you're
what we could do a lip sync video.
Oh, I could upload it and call it the deaf episode. World in the deaf. But anyways, speaking of emulating, there is one story I remember telling in that episode that I want to tell again at some point because it's funny regardless. They deserve to hear it.
Oh, I watched a movie last night that you probably
La La Land?
Happy to know about. No, actually not La La Land. Whiplash.
Oh, there you go. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw Whiplash. It was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. J.K. Rowling, man. Oh.
Yeah.
He won
J.K. Rowling. That's the author of Harry Potter.
Okay, what was his name then? The teacher.
Simmons. J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. Shoot. Okay, yeah, him.
Talking about the Harry Potter author.
Yeah. I've never seen Harry Potter. A lot of people bug me for that. Have you seen it, Brock?
Nope. People bug me for that too.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yep.
Because everyone has seen it that I talk to. And everyone, you know when you like give an example about something to try to relate it to everybody? Mm-hmm. People always use Harry Potter because they assume every person's seen it.
I've never heard that.
But then it's been done when I've been there, and I've never seen it before. So obviously it doesn't work.
How many people do you know that are making Harry Potter references to like everyday life? I've never met one.
I took this orientation to teaching class.
Yeah.
It was like a precursor class in order to get into the education program at the university. And we had to do like a mock teaching, I guess.
Okay.
A mock lesson in front of the class about what we would hypothetically do in an actual school setting. And one of the students there decided to do a whole Harry Potter themed thing. And she asked questions about things that related to Harry Potter, assuming everybody would know about it. And everybody in the class did know, so they were saying that, well, that's a good idea because everybody knows Harry Potter, and then
Sam was
there I am in the corner, just like, oh, man.
Were you literally in the corner? Because that would be too.
You could say I was the closest to the corner as possible, as anyone could have been.
Well,
so you've never seen any Harry Potter?
No. Same here.
Not even like the trailer?
I saw the preview.
Both of you?
I went to Stuart Little as a kid in the theater.
Stuart Little.
And the first Harry Potter movie came up as a preview, and I thought it looked scary. So ever since then,
I was still more shocked to find out that you guys sit down to pee. But yeah, no, I remember like every now and again the Harry Potter movie come out, and then eventually you'd see it in theaters and like, oh, okay, cool. And at some point I remember they kind of got boring, and I'm like, oh, Harry Potter sucks. But last year I went back and I kind of watched like all like beginning to end. It's actually pretty good, like a good little story. Like I know so many other franchises and series that blow it out of the water. Here's a franchise I don't like. I hate Lord of the Rings. I don't get the appeal of this.
You hate it?
I
tried watching it.
Really?
I've tried watching it. I even last year, I'm like, you know what, maybe it was like I was too young and like I took it for granted and went to sat down and watch it again. No. Lord of the Rings fucking stinks.
Really?
You stink for saying that.
I enjoyed it.
How dare you?
I don't get it. It's
Make these
garbage.
statements as if they're
It's
like
hot
the
garbage.
be-all, end-all.
It's hot garbage.
What about it is so bad?
Yeah.
Just like the acting is bad, or?
No, the acting's probably, like, the acting's good. The acting's good. The effects are pretty good for the time it came out and actually hold up.
Do you think the
I
pacing
don't know.
is just a little?
I can't put my finger on it. I
Did
just
you like
don't
Game
get...
of Thrones?
I love Game of Thrones.
Well, it kind of is the same genre.
No, I think Game of Thrones does what Lord of the Rings does better. I mean, but Lord of the Rings is more for, like, a family crowd-ish. Little less cock and balls and Lord of the Rings, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Well,
Couple
back
of.
then,
A couple of
The
more
conventions of
titties, few
society.
dragons.
the conventions of society back then didn't lend itself to high degrees of nudity. That's just the way
Okay.
things were.
Well, okay, well, speaking
Conventions
of...
have solely been, it's like what you talked about in Weak and Moderates 1, about how the envelope continues to get pushed more and more and more until you're on the cliff, while the same can be said about movies and different conventions when it comes to that.
What's being pushed in movies?
Well, like gross out comedy,
That's always been around.
it hasn't always been around, man.
It's been around long enough that we've been around, a bit more than that.
Yeah, but it started from somewhere. Like I took this film studies comedy class, and he showed us a movie from the 1960s where it was basically like it's a Western comedy, and basically there was a whole scene of a bunch of guys just farting, like insane amounts of farting, and that was a funny thing back then. Nowadays, farting's not. It's still kind of funny, but it wouldn't
People
be
find that
seen-
funny now.
It wouldn't be seen to the same extent of humor now as it was
It's just
back then.
no. That's like
it was seen
Three Stooges
back
shit.
then. Back then, farting was seen kind of a weird thing. That's how suppressed society was compared to where it is now.
I'll go in a direction. But speaking of shows that people either hate or like, have any of you started Iron Fist?
No.
No.
Ah, I finished it. I haven't slept at all this weekend. Like my days are packed full, and then I get home and watch Iron Fist till I have to do it again. But I finished now, so I can sleep tonight. But instead, I'm recording this show with two guys who sit down to pee.
Well, before this show, we were talking about how Tanner was saying how he never has time to record on weekends.
I don't. I
guess
just said I
He's
haven't
too busy
slept.
just mucking around.
Oh, this is
watching
the
Iron
reason.
Fist.
Yeah, I think I went to bed at like 5 a.m. on Friday. Woke up on like 10 Saturday. Yesterday, I got to bed at like 3:30 because the show finally wrapped it up. Then woke up at 10 this morning because my parents came here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you haven't
Mhm.
watched one episode?
You know what? I was going hard at Daredevil. And
Oh, okay.
I got to episode 4 of season 2, and then something happened, and then I just fell off, stopped watching.
What do you mean? Episode 4 is one of the best in season 2.
I know, but
They're
something
sitting in the
happened.
cemetery?
Schoolwork
What?
started piling up, and then just next thing you know, no more.
Well, here's how
I'll
I
get
rank
there.
them now.
Get
I've
there.
seen all the Defenders show that's leading up to the Defenders. This might blow some people's minds, but if I had to rate every season, I would go Daredevil Season 2, Iron Fist, Daredevil Season 1, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones.
Are you
And
a superhero fan at all, Brock?
Well, I don't know. I don't ever watch these movies really. I kind of, but I just don't bother to go out of my way and see them.
But in terms of superheroes in general, are you...
Yeah, I think so. Not hardcore by any means, but yeah, a little bit.
Who would your favorite be?
Oh, Spiderman. Yeah, yeah. From when
I just had my
8 years
my
old.
niece's birthday, my young niece's birthday today. She turned 5, and there was like a costume party, and she was always like, she loves the movie Frozen,
Oh, no.
and she's like obsessed with this movie Frozen. And then my brother-in-law, her dad, told her about Spider-Man 2 weeks ago, and now she's just obsessed with Spider-Man, and she had a Spider-Man costume.
Oh.
Oh, baby.
Okay.
She's a Spider-Gwen.
She was webbing people up, yeah, Spider-Girl.
Name your top 3 superheroes, though. Let's get some variety going. Like, what's your top 3 that tickles your fancy? Gives you a little spark in the sack.
Talking to Brock or both of us?
All of us. Let's start with Brocky Boy, though.
I have no sophistication here at all. Are you talking about like actual interesting or my favorites? In my
just top 3 that brings a twinkle to your eye.
How about we skip and I'll actually think about it for a bit.
All right.
Okay. You know what? At this point in time, I'll tell you that my top 3 are Spider-Man, Batman, and Flash. Those are my 3.
Gross. I think my top 3 have to go Bucky,
Really?
Thor, then Captain America.
Wow.
I've always loved the Winter Soldier.
But before...
Who's Bucky?
Before...
He's the Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
What would your favorites have been before Avengers happened? Before the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe happened?
Before the Marvel Universe, I didn't really like Captain America, but I always liked the Winter Soldier and Thor.
Okay.
Thor was my number 1 for a while, and I think they've done him fairly well in the universe, but he's not as good as he is in the source material. Thor was always my boy, and he always has a soft spot here. And Thor Ragnarok looks amazing. But yeah, Bucky has always been there. Like, I remember watching the first Captain America back in 2011, being like, I hope that guy becomes the Winter Soldier at some point. Then they announced that movie, and I flipped my lid. I've always liked the Winter Soldier.
You're the first person I know who's ever said that. He's kind of an afterthought, I think, for a lot of people.
You know, originally, I never really liked the idea of Thor for some reason, because he kind of he reminded me of mythology, and I really wasn't into that at all. I thought that the whole idea of mythology was overrated, especially when I was younger. I'm just like, pfft. And then Thor, oh, Thor's mythology. No, Thor's lame all of a sudden. But yeah. Anyways.
That kind of sounds a little bit like my attitude towards Harry Potter in a way.
I think you're on to something, though.
It seemed kind of cheesy. But
which?
When Sam was talking about Harry Potter, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's one thing for magic, but they had literal wands. I mean, like, magicians
I have a wand.
Have wands. It's like,
of course you do.
It seems
I have a wand. This past December, I went to California with a friend. We went to that Universal Studios where they have that Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It's just like walking on the set of the movie, and I got some wicked pictures from there. But I ended up buying this $50 fucking wand from there. It's just sitting on a shelf at home. I'm pretty proud of it, though. And then at Disneyland, I bought fucking lightsabers and shit. Any nerdy thing, I'm into it.
It reminds me, I don't know why it made me think of it, but you know, like those Q-Ray bands that you can get around your wrist? Those Nike bands?
The arthritis wrist?
They're one and the same. But yeah, the arthritis wrist. The arthritis. But apparently this thing's supposed to change your life.
My dad has one.
Change your balance.
Oh, yeah, it's got the little piece of metal. They're like, whoa, it's gonna demagnetize you or something like that.
You sounded pretty mythological there, Brock. You should take it easy.
A bit of Morgan Freeman.
But I think, was it you I was talking to about? Or someone I was, where whenever they test these things, they just kind of... So say you go to a kiosk in the mall and they're selling this crap. Mm-hmm. Go up to the person and they're like, do you want to do a test? And they're like, okay, sure. Or you're like, okay, sure. And then they push you. So you fall back because you're not expecting it. Mm-hmm. And then they give you this thing. And then they push you again. And then they're like, whoa, look at you now. You barely even moved. But in reality, well, of course, you're bracing for it.
That's like that showmanship. That do people like are some people just born with that ability to like kind of manipulate people, or is that like a social talent people learn to like sell their like craft in such a greasy way?
Talent, definitely learned.
Because that it reminds me of a thing. I've talked to Sam about this. Like going back, like even this comes back to my California trip. I understand why Americans are rude now, and this might be a poor example why, but this is how I rationalized it. Because walking down Hollywood Strip where the stars are on the ground and everything, every 5 steps there's some guy popping in your face, like, hey man, what's your name? You want a CD here? He puts like a CD in like his fucking mixtape or some shit, but it's lit though. You better guarantee it. 8 tracks of pure fire. And before he puts it in your hand, he's like, so what's your name? And I'm like, Tanner. This is for all of them. All of them. I'm like, Tanner. And before you know it, they're writing down Tanner on this CD. And I'm wearing a Lakers jersey at the time. And people keep being like, oh, yeah, man, big Lakers fan. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't like the Lakers. So, and then they start ribbing you for that. I'm like, oh, come on, man, you're in Los Angeles. But anyways, they're writing your name on the CD. Then they put it in your hand after they're like selling you their soul, basically. And they're like, hey, man, take that CD. So how much you going to give me for that? I'm like, nothing. So I give them the CD back with my name on it. And at some point, like,
well done.
I was treating them pretty good right off the bat, but they all kept doing the same thing. So at some point, like 2 blocks into Hollywood Boulevard, eventually these people pop up, and I'm just like, fuck off. Like, I turned American like that.
You think that's why American people are rude, because they're sick of those type of people?
They're sick of mixtapes. You heard it here first. It's not Trump who's ruining America. It's your shitty mixtapes. And that's ironic coming from a basement musician.
Tanner 2017. It's not Trump. It's your mixtapes.
Oh, man.
That's a pretty good...
man, that's going in the header. Oh, baby.
It's not Trump. Here, episode 5.5. It's not Trump, it's your mixtape.
I can't believe that ended up becoming a sentence.
Oh, that would go viral right there.
But yeah,
All
anyways.
the Justice Warriors would
Seriously,
change their
disgusting.
tune immediately.
It's disgusting. Like this is so greasy. And then they look at you like lizards. Like just trying to dissect what can get you to stop and talk to them. Like, hey man, nice shoes, man. Or like, hey man, you white, I got white music for you. You like Lakers, nice shorts, man. I like shorts too. Do you like jorts? Do you like jean shorts? Because I'm wearing jorts.
That's like, I mean, talking about it, that stuff. I mean, I think that's definitely not just American. In fact, I've been to a few other countries, not many, but a few other countries. And just sometimes you go into markets, and especially if they're poor places, the markets are very local. And so like you have to walk through them and check things out. There's no Amazon delivering stuff to you, right? Actually, there probably is, but that's how you do it. And people are gawking all the time. They're like, "Ah, yo, you person over there." I was in Ecuador once, and
this is what they're saying, or this is what you did?
Well, I was in Ecuador. I was literally in Ecuador, and I went into.
Well, I thought you were saying about how the person came up to you and was like, "Yo, man, I was in Ecuador once."
No. And he was mixtape.
All right, keep going.
But yeah. Anyway, so I was in the market, and like I don't even speak Spanish hardly, right? But I'm white, and no one else there is white. It's Ecuador, South America, right? And
You're
so
like the definition of white.
I am the definition of white. So you have no idea. But yeah, so I'm walking through here. I have a few friends with me. And so we're kind of walking through. We're looking at stuff. Like, we don't want to buy anything because, I mean, what are we going to buy? We're just some punks. And all of a sudden, this one guy, like, one shopkeeper way over here, he's yelling at us, "Hey, you, how's it going? Hey, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Canada," because I'm a noob here. I don't know how it works. And he's like, "Oh, Canada, I like that place, too." And he tries to get into it. It's, I think, looking back on it now. But, I mean, like, this is what happens when there's more smaller shops. It's not as big. Companies are, I don't know, it's not a company, it's just a local shop. People, that's kind of what they do. They shout.
There's no capitalism there.
There's no
That's what SJWs would say.
There's no capitalism.
Did this salesman bring out your blunt, rude side, your American, your inner American? Did you soar like an eagle when he tried to sell you?
I was too innocent for that to happen.
No, he brought out his inner Canadian, you mean.
Oh, hey there, sorry I'm not buying your stuff. I'll buy the whole store.
So
sorry
That's
about
like
that.
what I was telling you the other day there, Tanner, about holding the door for people.
Oh, God.
Come on.
I cringed when you told me that story.
Oh.
Tell me
Oh,
this story.
it makes me cringe right now.
Sounds so good.
Well, like
It's so bad.
in the it's so bad.
Can't believe you did that.
What is it? Tell me.
All right, Sam, tell him. It's so bad though. It's
Oh
just like
man, I gotta live up to the story now. All
like
right.
the guy the person he holds this door for, even in that moment, must have been like, dude, what the fuck?
He said thanks, but anyway,
In his
it was
outside,
he was like in a shock of awe kind of thanks. But so basically,
Okay.
the university library bathroom. It's like one of those doors that when you're coming into the bathroom, you just push it open, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then there's a handle on the inside for you to leave.
Right.
So I was leaving, and the guy was walking into the bathroom, and I like pushed the door open a little bit for him.
Mhm.
I give it a little nudge as he's walking through, and he says thanks, kind of
Okay.
quiet. And then I leave, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, come on, man. Like
my sociology
that-
teacher talked about that.
Your
Remember the-
sociology teacher talked about that?
Yeah, so like the other day, me, Brock, and Sam are sitting on a break at school, and I tell them the story about my sociology teacher. Remember the guy I told you about, like, oh, C's get degrees
yeah.
type deal?
Oh.
Yeah,
So just-
Oh, yeah, that
Just
guy.
just to fill in whoever's watching here, my sociology teacher for my intro sociology class last year, great guy, fantastic. To get a visual, he kind of had like a nice little beard. He always wore like the paperboy hat from the 30s, like get your paper, and he had a sleeve tattoo. Guy was super chill. He would swear all the time in class. But anyways, at the end of that semester, he comes in, he kind of does a spiel. He's like, listen, guys, I know it's a rough time, stressful time. I just want to let you guys know that C's get degrees. Go out and get laid. He drops the mic and leaves. Last time I ever saw this guy.
Oh my goodness. I wonder
but
if he was retiring.
No, he went off to a different school. He got a different job. He had classes that I was going to be in this semester that a new teacher took over, so I dropped those classes. But anyways, in another class, this is maybe mid-semester, or with him, he starts talking about like that thing of like holding doors for people. And he starts going on the whole tirade and explaining why it happens because it's sociology. And he's making very poignant points on like why we psychologically do that and like the empathy we have for others. And then he ends it, he's like, but sometimes they're just too far away for you to hold a door, you fucking asshole. Just go right through. And then he just goes on a different topic. I'm like, I've never heard a professor talk like that.
I was thinking about this. Hopefully I'll be able to convey this properly. But I was thinking about this whole thing after that situation, the story I just told, about how like people don't like talking to each other. We're all like kind of in our own world, self-absorbed, doing our own thing. And a lot of times we could really care less about people. But the one thing that we continue to hang on to is holding doors for people. And it's weird, man. I don't know why that is. That's like
only
the
in
one
Canada.
thing that's the one thing that makes us all humane, I guess. Holding doors.
Just being kind and
Instead of actually talking to people, we just hold doors. And then somehow that's enough, I guess.
Yeah, little things like that. Now that you mention that, I don't have any in mind, but I feel like there's other little things we do like that just everyone kind of does.
Like, oh, here's another thing. When, say, on the first day of classes or whatever, you always have like a little buffer zone. You can never sit right next to the person. There always has to be one chair in between. That's just, I do it. You guys probably do it. Everyone does it. It's just a
I've got a
psychological
funny story
thing.
about that.
And yeah, it's stuff like that, man.
We've all done that, right? Like that's the thing we all do, right? That buffer zone.
Yep.
That's funny you bring that up. My English class I took last semester, first day I go in there, buffer zone. Like I'm one of the first guys in there, but I find the biggest buffer zone between everyone that's in there. And actually, a friend that I hang out with, like a really good friend now, she walks into this class, walks right up to me. She's like, "Can I sit next to you?" And it blew my mind. I didn't know how to answer. I'm like, Control Alt Delete buffer zone not. And she's like, I'm like, okay. And she sits down right next to me. I'm like, this isn't human. She's one of those lizard aliens. It's not your mixtape. It's lizard aliens.
I don't know. I guess maybe that's because people during for classes in university people often go in with a plan. They kind of get with a group of friends. They're like, oh, this is gonna be my clique for this class. Even if you have, because people once you get into it, you have lots of friends in a class. just like different groups sometimes. So maybe when she
Well,
asks,
more
like,
so in high school, I'd say.
Yeah, high school.
Not as much the case in university.
maybe not as
But
much.
it's funny
in
how,
university, but
like, I'm the same. I like try to sit in the exact same spot every single day. So I pick a spot first day, and then ideally I'd like to stay in that same spot the entire time. Subconsciously, I'm just drawn to that spot. I'm not thinking when I come into the classroom, okay, I'm going to sit in this exact same spot. I'm just drawn to that spot, and I go there every single day. And then there's typically the same people around me too, and the same buffer zone between us and them. It's kind of funny. There's, I always look over because I'm in that big PE 250, which is probably the biggest class in the school with like 200 seats or something. And throughout the entire semester, I kind of sit on the right side in the middle, and then I look over at the bottom left on the other side, and there's like 4 seats there in the very front row, and there's like a girl and a guy that are the only 2 people that sit there, and they've had that buffer zone between them the entire semester. It's just
they're gonna
weird
get married?
to look at, man.
Yeah,
I'd
you
be
meet
that
some
guy.
weird people in university, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, some of the, like, I've never, like, I didn't think I'd meet some of the people I've met coming here. I'm not saying that's a positive. Like, half the time it's a negative. Like, I am shocked at what I see at a
Like
university sometimes.
weird people how?
I'd have to name drop to...
Okay, but give me an example of something someone did
Yeah,
that was weird.
their actions, behavior.
Yeah.
We need to know.
Just, like, the way people talk about some of their opinions. That I'm, like, I don't understand how some of these people got into the place to begin with. And then they talk about they're very... I can't, because, like, it gives away, like, it gives it away.
Okay. Okay, are you going to be talking about kind of how irrational their political views are? Or are you kind of going to go on that?
No,
tangent
there's
about
definitely
how
some of
they're
that,
just kind
too.
of dumb.
Well, actually, you know what? I can use there is an example I thought of that wouldn't, like, kind of like name drop people we see day to day. My English professor. This guy is this guy's like radical left. Not that that's the main reason, but he's very active on Twitter.
Okay.
And I follow him. He follows me. Sometimes he says funny shit even in class. He kind of was decently funny. He was a decent professor, but I would email this guy, and he would never reply back. And then I'd see him on Twitter just till like 3 a.m. sometimes. I think he's an alcoholic because, like, the later it got, the more sporadic his tweets got and his thoughts. But, like, he would be in class, and, like, sometimes he would just, like, go on rants and, like, be like, if you gotta call out everything you see. He's basically like, he's the punch a Nazi type thing, and, like, whatever, Nazis are bad and everything. But he's one of those guys. But coming back to like these late night things where he's just talking, and, like, he got in Twitter fights with people. He would, like, troll politicians on Twitter until he got blocked, and he would screenshot the block and tweet that out, being like, I win, na 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 na. And the thought process going through my head would be like, this guy is in charge of my future.
How do you get a doctorate?
How do you get a fucking job?
That's freaking disgusting.
So I think
A lot of English professors are drunks, I think.
I think the arts, yeah, like a lot of the arts people in the arts.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. They're all kind of, the art that they bring forward drives them insane or something.
Well, I think arts people within the arts are like highly introspective.
It's like Whiplash.
Yeah, like
obsessed with their craft that they're willing to get hit by a car and be all bloodied and still show up.
Dude, that was my high school music classes. I was that guy, and my teacher was less hardcore than J.K. Simmons, but very much like that. Like that movie was, yeah, I've been in music classes like that.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I'd say like the arts people, whether you're an artist, a musician, or just like, I guess English fits that too. You're very introspective, and you can see the darkest parts of society and stuff. Artists are typically cynical, more or less, I'd say.
Cynical about what?
The world.
maybe it's because they're so, if you will, inward-looking, that they're
Yeah.
always looking at people inside, but they don't actually look at the big picture outside, if that makes sense.
No, I think cynicism is healthy. Or else
Well,
you get...
Well, there's obviously a moderate level
I mean,
Some
yeah,
ways.
I would say
that
so,
you
because,
healthy level.
like, I would say there's there's a lot of moral looks at, on, like, in these, the arts and stuff, right? There's lots of people who have, like, strong views on morality, and they're always looking at that and analyzing that and stuff, but not necessarily looking at the economic point of views. Would that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it's like the idea of liberals versus conservatives. The liberals are always like, or the people who support the liberals, they're like, oh yeah, I mean, look at all this, we're gonna get a program to go and support all the homeless people, sort of thing. And then the conservatives are like, yeah, but you're spending 1,000 times more than we need to do that, sort of thing. And we should just trash the whole program, and you kind
So you're talking about idealists versus realists,
Yes, essentially.
or pragmatists, I guess you could say.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to. Well, yeah, I kind of used to be in that idealist frame of mind for a pretty long time.
Mm-hmm. And what changed
Kind of
that?
like into the whole like, you can achieve greatness,
Mhm.
and like you're so special, and the whole kind of millennial thing. I guess I was like the ultimate, and it was kind of a slippery slope because my mood would always be like up and down,
Mm.
because I for some reason I had this belief that I should feel good all the time,
What are you, Mormon?
when in reality it's not possible to feel good all the time. And I just kind of I learned that a couple years ago, I think, around there. And yeah, I always was like trying to reach some mythical thing instead of actually just accepting that I am who I am now. And like, if you continue to try to get up here, you're always like focusing on getting up here. You never actually enjoy who you are now, because you're always like trying to get to this level. You're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. One day you'll be enough. And then in reality, well, what's wrong with you now? Kind of thing. So that's kind of how my paradigm has shifted a little bit within the past little while.
You could just say you accepted yourself rather than...
Well, I'm trying to a little bit more.
I think I like just this past year I finally just like accepted like everything. I'm just like, I am fine with my life and where it's going.
Yeah.
And before
I'm super comfortable with that.
You're doing
Before?
the same thing as Sam before?
I would say I'd say like I maybe like I would go down similar paths. Like I had like goals and stuff, but I was like super concerned with like how like I was viewed by people, maybe, I guess. Like how I socially fit in with everyone I knew. But now I'm just kind of comfortable with being like, I don't give a fuck.
Literally. Yeah, I guess kind of the same here. I'm still working on not caring as much what other people think and not being too sensitive about things, but yeah, it's gonna take, well, of course, still being well, not being overly sensitive, also being sensitive enough. Is trying to get my spectrum right there. But
and
I think I could be... Oh, go ahead.
No, you started first.
Okay. Well, I think like even like all that, but I think like even my friends like a super like 4.0 psychologist stuff, like, and I did one of her test stuff and everything. And even before then, I kind of knew it was like I could be more emotional with people. Like I could like that could serve well for my life. But that's just something for me to work on either way. Eventually, like we all grow. But then coming back to your paradigm thing where you're trying to reach a point, sometimes you don't even notice you've reached the point you've looking for, but you're already on top of this mountain and you're looking up at a taller mountain, and it just becomes a thing you keep going through. It's like life. You go to school to get a job. You get a job to get promoted. You get promoted to make more money, to do your job better, to get promoted again, then you're dead. You just keep going up these steps. It's just an endless pair of steps.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to you about that probably about a month ago or so, that article by my boy Mark Manson.
Oh yeah.
Talking about how, okay, I'll try to bring it back here. Back in like, I don't know, the early to mid 1900s, psychologists would like look at depression, I guess, and how to minimize that. But then for whatever reason, I think it was like the 60s or 70s, they shifted their focus to start looking on how to instead enhance happiness.
Right.
To get that up. And they did this test, this study, I guess, where they took a group of people and they would just have these people do regular tasks that they would usually do in a laboratory type setting. And then randomly, there would be like a buzzer. And when this buzzer went off, the people had to say how happy they felt on a scale of 1 to 10.
But yeah.
And almost every single time, people said they were at a 7. Okay, I'll let you go, but I just want to finish this off here.
Right, I was just gonna say on the term of happiness and stuff. I heard a study talk about that, and I mean, like, it's starting to become an issue nowadays. And the definition of happiness, what is that even? Like, people kind of they think of it, and then the first uneducated guess on what it means is people kind of think it's like almost ecstasy sort of thing, being pleasure sort of thing. It's like you're just, if you're eternally happy, you're eternally just like in bliss. But that's not necessarily what happiness is. Not by the original definition. It was more so, I think it was defined by healthiness, safety, and I don't remember the third one, but it was essentially having a good social life, having people surrounding you, being a good contributor, being well known and stuff, like just having the basics, if you will, of surviving.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, that's happiness right there. And I think that's actually, there's a lot to be agreed upon right there. I mean, I think if that's what happiness is, then...
Well, there's a couple things there. First off, okay, well, I'll say this first. Mm-hmm. Basically, the point of the article from Mark Manson, he gave this study, an example that I was talking about, and saying how people always want to reach this 10. But in reality, say they go through something really, really fun. They're really enjoying themselves. They're at this level. They're at this 10. Eventually, they're going to come back to the 7. Say someone really close to them dies. They feel bad for a while. They're down here. Eventually, they're going to come back up to the 7. But people are always trying to like get to this 10 level.
Oh.
When it's not really possible to do. It's the 10 is basically this eternal happiness that you were talking about. And people are always like picturing this eternal happiness in their mind with no problems. But basically what he was saying is that life is problems.
Yeah.
And overcoming problems is what increases your level of happiness. So say you want to get somewhere, well, you're going to have to overcome problems to get there. And that's basically like the journey. And when you overcome that problem, maybe you'll have a little bit of a 10. Get up to that 10, you're going to come back to the 7.
Right.
Do another problem, you're going to get to that 10 for a little bit, come back to the 7.
Well,
So
just like all those...
Yeah.
Oh, keep going.
Well, you can... I basically said the gist of what it is, so go ahead.
Well, that relates to like all those studies that always talk about like people win the lottery, but they always come back down to the mental state they were before the lottery. With like all this money. How do you think you would deal with if money wasn't a problem with you? If that became an aspect of your life that you didn't have to worry about money, how do you think you would change?
I read a few articles on various things like that. One I read on was on the creator of the game Minecraft. after
Oh, yeah?
like after he became big and he became rich, sort of thing. And he was kind of giving an article about, you know, what is it like being rich now? And he said, you know, things aren't that much different now. Now I just like I go to the grocery store and I just don't care about the prices. I don't look at the prices. I just grab whatever I want and stuff. But I mean, in terms of like not daily life, but in terms of other stuff, I mean, I don't know. I think it would become strangely sad, strangely lonely, as you kind of have to learn to live this new life where you don't have any obligations, where you don't have to go and do anything, and it's... I don't
Yeah.
know.
I want that.
You want that?
Yeah, I want that
That-
bad.
Mm.
That's kind of the thing. But no matter what you get, there's always going to be some kind of issue in your life.
Oh no, I'm not
It's
saying
not
I'd
possible to
I mean,
not have them.
I'm not saying it'll be
And
eternal
that's when a lot of
bliss.
people, they like achieve every external thing that they could want, and then they don't actually, they still kind of feel that same feeling. And that's when they get all snobby.
That feeling of what?
Well, all of their external desires, a lot of, in certain situations, they've been granted. They've got the nice house, all the money they could want, beautiful wife, living in a beautiful place,
I just want the freedom.
and they still aren't happy, and they're wondering what's going on.
If money wasn't a problem for me, like sure I'd be the same person more or less, but I'm in love with that idea that if I wanted to just go 2 months without having to worry about work or anything and just go do music, I can do that. Or if tomorrow, like, oh, I'm gonna go fly to Los Angeles and see a Ducks game.
Mhm.
The freedom
Yeah.
to do that.
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the way I look at it. I don't look at it like I got all this money. I got my precious. I just want the freedom to be like, oh, I'm going to Philadelphia for a couple days. See you guys. And then
Yeah.
I could just go to Philadelphia, do my thing. Or maybe like, I want to take an art class. I want to learn how to draw. I can just do that. I can funnel all my energy into that instead of having to worry about juggling that with work and life and everything. I just want the freedom to be able to do something. Like maybe I want to learn a language, funnel all my energy into that, music, what have you. Just the freedom to do whatever.
That's why, you usually probably get asked this every once in a while. What if you could have any superpower? What would it be?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I always answer mine would be teleportation,
Eternal life.
because I could be like, okay, well, you know what? I feel like going to France for lunch today.
Okay.
Teleport over to France for a couple hours, have some lunch, head on back. How
Would you
beautiful
want-
is that?
Would you want to be immortal? Because I would pick immortality.
Why would you though? We've talked about this, and I don't know. What's your rationale for that?
I don't want to die.
Why? Because
Because
everyone else around you will.
I don't
That's
care.
how-
Eventually that will become a walk in the park. I
then
can
you're not
get
gonna be
used
able
to
to
that.
connect with anybody.
Get used to that. Eh?
I'm fine with that too. That will become something. That's a whole other social artillery I could eventually use. The stuff I will be able to see, experience. I could see Avengers 20, but outside of that, there's so many things that I like. It's for me. That'd be amazing, just to see all the shit that goes on. Not have to worry about cancer or some shit. That'd be amazing.
It would be interesting.
It
I
would,
know-
but eventually you'd get bored of it.
I think
what were you
there's-
gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think there's a lot to be said about the daily struggles we go through. Whether that is, like, just having a job, a daily job, and then you go there and then you have to work through everything, and it's so fulfilling. I have a friend I know, and he is he's gotten out of high school recently, and he hasn't been able to find a job for himself. Of course, we live in Alberta, so the economic situation wasn't optimal for him to go and find a job. But right now he's kind of just at home and doing nothing really. And I look at this guy and I always think, maybe you should push harder to find a job, because even if it's just going to McDonald's or working at any fast food restaurant. I mean, when I worked at Cal Tire for a while, and just thinking about how much that helped me in my life. Not that it was anything special as a job, just the fact that I had to interact with the workers around me, had to interact with the customers, had to go and push to do something, had to push to do better, had to be consistent and do it every day, day after day.
Yeah.
There was something about the, if you will, the struggle that really, I think it really improved me. And I mean, I feel that if you are rich, if you don't have to worry about any of this stuff, I think you'll start losing a lot of these things. A lot of things that you don't think you would lose. Such as if you had immortality, I think. I'm not exactly sure what you would lose, but...
Your humanity.
Yeah, you'd lose your humanity, but I'm intrigued to learn what that is. I kind of want to see what that is for me. That'd be cool.
Well,
but I'm messed up like that.
What if it was like something that you could test out for a while, and then you'd be like, well, I'm sick of immortality. I want to die. How about that?
Okay, so this theoretical genie is coming to me. He's like, hey, I got an arsenal of superpowers here. You can test them on for a bit, and then you get to pick one. Hell yeah, I'll find the one I like the best. But yeah,
that's
totally.
A lot of bit, though, in order to get the full gist of what immortality is. That bit's gonna have to be like.
I'm fine with that. More time I get to live.
Years.
Good, I'm in.
You know what the beauty would be if you could combine superpowers, combine immortality and time travel. Because like, if you want to see where society goes in a certain aspect, or see what society has been in the past, you're never going to be able to go back in time to see what society has been.
Okay, wait. Before you lock in your answer, all of us,
unless you figure out a way to time travel with your immortality somehow.
No, okay.
Smart.
We'll come to that. If you could combine two superpowers, only two, you only get two. Which two would you do? And be smart about it.
Which two would you do? I'll let Brock start us off because I already gave.
I'm not starting. I'm gonna be last.
Okay, throw one out there. And then we'll work on that.
I think you got it wrong.
So much stuff you could do. Huh. Oh man. I don't know. It depends on what we mean by superpowers, I guess. But
you know what, I was gonna say something here. If time travel was a superpower that you would have, it would be super cool for a while. But eventually, anytime anything went wrong in your life, you just go back in time. And it would ruin some of the...
This is the Adam Sandler Click movie.
Life that you have. Yeah, it's Click.
Yeah. Okay, wait, no, but... Yeah, that's pretty sad. You got it wrong, though. If you can't have immortality... If you're going to put two, you can't do immortality and time travel. If you want to have two, and if you want to live a fulfilling life with that, you have to have immortality and the power of death. That if at some point you want it to be done, you can be done.
Okay.
That's the only two you get.
But like,
That's your out. That's your loophole.
But the power of death, that's literally a superpower. We have the power of death if we want it.
No, the power to inflict death. That like even like going through your immortal life, you can just look at a guy and be like, I don't like you, you're dead now, and he just drops dead. I'm not saying it's morally right. You might be a fucking asshole for a couple hundred years.
Superpower?
Hell yeah, because at some point I'm going to get bored. I'm going to be like, and I'm dead.
Just for myself.
Yeah, why would it be other people that you could do that? You could just take a knife around with you and do it that way. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, but then you go to jail.
It would just be personal death.
Then you go to jail. Death. You go to jail. That's how you go to jail, stabbing people, Sam.
So you sound like a superhuman, like a super villain.
Yeah,
because you can't be killed, but you can kill others.
You're telling me in a realistic world, if someone gave you powers, you wouldn't end up being a supervillain?
Superhero, man.
You would be a superhero. You could 100% say you'd be a superhero?
Probably wouldn't. I'd probably hide, actually.
Depends on the powers.
100% villain. Most people would.
Well, as an atheist, yeah.
No, even look at it. Even there's like those studies. You put people in power, they abuse it.
And that goes back to our discussion last week that we unfortunately didn't put out because of you about ego. Once you get
Guy
to the
talks
top,
about ego
it'll
and he
take over.
starts ribbing.
No, this is realism.
You know, honestly, I'd probably end up going into hiding. I'd hide with that stuff, or just like not even go into hiding, but I wouldn't even reveal any of it. I'd just be like, you know what? No, I mean I can do this, but no,
I know.
What's the point?
I
then?
don't want to deal with it.
I would become a tyrant. I know I
I'm a
would.
tyrant.
I would.
I would hate you.
Yeah.
Oh, I
You're
can
either with
picture.
me or against me. No, because that's within every human is capable of that, and it's healthy to know you are capable of doing the worst things you can think of.
That's fair. That's what Jordan Peterson talks about.
Yeah. Even before then, I knew these thoughts. I'm like, I could do this stuff if need be, or if granted opportunities. Humans are like designed to like try and find the easiest routes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but sometimes, like, say I'm like, I have a knife and I'm preparing my food with my knife. I think to myself, I could kill myself right now. Like, it would be easy. I could just do it.
Just these more.
And those kind of thoughts kind of come up sometimes, and it's weird.
It's like that old joke, like you could be driving down the road next to a sidewalk, and all it needs is just a little tilt a bit, and all of a sudden you're going right over the
Well, you
crowd
see
of people.
those poles on the side of the road that are just sticking out. Veer over, hit one of those. Goodbye. Oh.
Yeah.
When you're like in the mountains going to Banff, and then all of a sudden you're driving like on mountains on roads where it's like sometimes they don't even have the banisters or whatever blocking.
I've had dreams about that where I like go off the cliff with my car, and I'm in the air coming down, and I'm
like, whoa.
I'm like, this is the end, and then I wake up. Oh man,
That makes my asshole pucker.
the worst one of the worst dreams I had. Well, then what am I talking about? Well, it was kind of a bad dream, I guess. Kind of a depressing one.
I like bad dreams.
You know, like El Dorado?
No.
In what sense? As in
That's like the city of gold, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I watched this El Dorado movie as a kid, and somehow I still remember this dream. So I obviously went to sleep, had my dream, and I was like scaling up this castle, and I got to the very top, and I saw the treasure chest. And I was going to open up this treasure chest and be rich in my dream, and I was so excited. Just as I went to approach the chest, my dad woke me up. Oh my goodness. Oh, I was crushed. I got mad at him. I was pissed.
That's interesting though. Like I said, like I enjoy bad dreams, but I think there's a reason for that. You know what's worse than waking up from a nightmare or terrified of that shit? Is waking up from a dream where your life was perfect.
Yeah.
You're waking up into the nightmare more or less, and that sounds morbid. Life is very good for most people, and we are very privileged, aside from all that political shit that's attached to that word. But waking up from a good dream is the worst thing that can happen. I hate that. That's the worst. That's why being killed in your dream, chased by dragons, zombies, whatever the fuck you dream about, that will always be better than dreaming about the perfect life where you're just doing everything you've always wanted to do.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean...
And then that gets into the whole lucid dreaming thing. People trying to harness the power of lucid dreaming to have the life they want.
That's messed up.
And then that leads us into talking about virtual reality that's coming out now. Where people are just going to start living their lives through virtual reality.
VR
That's a whole other bag of
porn!
worms right there.
Oh, VR. It's so... I don't know. It's sketchy, actually, watching the games in VR and the stuff that you can do, potentially.
Have you tried it?
I haven't ever tried it, no. But I've definitely
Sam?
seen a lot of stuff about it.
I have, yeah. Well, I did, like, the PlayStation one, just at the mall one time.
Yeah, I've done the demo at a mall.
And
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was okay. It kind of glitched out for me, unfortunately. But my brother, actually, I saw my brother last week, and he went to this conference in Banff, and they're giving away these, like, virtual reality little mini things.
Put your phone on it.
No, it was like a little box that you just look into.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
virtual reality, yeah. And it was like this roller coaster. And it
Hmm.
was crazy. You could like look, you could move your head around while you had this thing and literally see different things that were going on in the world. It was crazy. Really
Mm.
cool. I almost felt dizzy. Like I was going to faint because it was so surreal.
That's
Do you
very
faint
common.
easy?
I never have.
You've never fainted? Brock, have you?
I don't think I've ever fainted before. No.
I am super prone to fainting. I
Really?
fainted in a lot of places, yeah.
Really?
Like I faint when I see blood. I fainted on roller coasters.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds.
You not
like-
drink enough water or something?
No, well, like the G-force of the roller coaster did that, but mainly just blood, the sight of blood. Because it's ever since I had my earring ripped out when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's nasty, man. So much blood.
When's the last time you fainted?
Probably years ago.
Okay.
Like when I say prone, I've fainted maybe 3 times in my life, but that's more than people like our age, right? Like how many guys you know have fainted?
Well, I know that
Well.
I heard a story one time about how my dad and brother were at Superstore. And you know, like, when they have those big, I don't know, with all, like, the pop on them, they're all in the plastic on top of the
Oh.
Yeah.
like, the wooden thing.
The pallet.
The pallet, there you go.
Mhm.
I guess they had that in the middle of the store or something.
Mm.
And my brother fainted right into them and
Oh.
knocked all of them all over the place.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in that case, then that means he's he's safe. He didn't like fall and bonk his head on the floor, but I mean, it's expensive and
He's okay now, as far as I know.
awful.
That would have been like 10 years ago.
You know, on the topic of dreaming and stuff, it was something that happened to me a while back. You guys know about sleep paralysis?
Yeah, I'm terrified of that.
Yeah, so like at first I used to think it was no big deal. I thought it was like you wake up and you can't move. And I mean, that's part of it, but I didn't realize there was more to it, such as the shadowy figure that's over top of you that for some reason you know is there to like ruin your life for some reason. Like that's its purpose, and it's just like sheer terror. It's crazy. It happened to me once, and was like,
What do you mean shadow over you? What do you mean?
well, I mean, so here's what happened. So I was awake, and I was kind of like groggy. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go back, fall asleep, sort of thing, and all of a sudden, my body kind of like freezes up, kind of like tingles a little, and then kind of freezes, and then I can, if you will, feel a presence kind of over towards my door that was open. And a shadowy figure, literally a shadowy figure. It looks like a human, except it's all shadows.
What
It comes up, it got on the bed, got on top of me, was like
No.
looking down. Yeah.
No.
And just like in
What
your
the
heart,
hell?
you feel like you know. It's not a like, oh, I wonder if this guy wants to kill me. It's like you know he's here to wreck you.
Is this
And-
this is a dream though, man?
No, it was like it wasn't a dream. It's you're awake and your mind's like doing sketchy things. And
'Cause
that's
it's probably still in its dream state. That's probably what's going
yeah,
on.
you're like half in a dream state, but you're also awake too. It's stuff is going on like this, and it was.
You got me having goosebumps, man.
I'm
This is-
scared, man.
No,
Holy.
Yeah.
it was scary. I mean, I was literally afraid for my life, and I
So
mean,
what happened?
well, I mean, oh well, if you want me to get into it, I like tried to ask. I tried to ask the figure a question. I think what was it? I think it was like, "Are you here to?" What was it? It's like, "Are you here to kill me?" or something. And it was like it shook its head. And I'm like, and then I asked another question. I don't remember what it was. And then it nodded, like that's what its reason was there. I think it was like, "Are you here to scare me?" Because first off, I asked, "Are you here to kill me?" And it's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Are you here to scare me?" Because I was scared. And it's like, "Yep, that's my purpose." And I'm like, "Oh snap!" I actually gave a little prayer there, of course, and then it disappeared and it ended.
It only happened once.
This only happened one time?
It's kind of happened again, as in like I'm falling asleep, and I can feel like my body's starting to get that tingly feeling, and I immediately like I wake up, I get up. I'm like, nope, not gonna let that happen. And of course, I searched on Wikipedia, Google about this, and then I learned that's sleep paralysis, and that's what the term nightmare actually originally came from, was the shadowy figure, because that happens to a lot of people apparently. So, and I mean, like, now I close my doors and all my closets and stuff, because like it literally came out from an open door and stuff.
You're freaking me out.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I didn't know it was a thing that happened.
There's some kind of science behind that. There has to be.
Yes. There definitely was.
Which it's obviously just in your mind.
It was, yeah, with some kind of.
Your mind manifested that somehow. Your mind it's a crazy thing. How powerful it is.
And the weird things it can do. The way it can wrap around stuff. Absolutely. But that was a negative sense in that case for sure. I wanted to throw that out
spooked. There. I'm all spooked. No, it's very spoopy.
Where did that come from? Like, where did we get there?
It was from, we were talking about dreams in general. And I'm like, oh, I have a story. I threw it out there because it was kind of related.
So do you still kind of think about that, or you're like, well, that's life. Sometimes it'll be a shadowy thing over me, and nothing I can do about it.
I avoid it like the plague.
Nothing's going to happen.
Like, there's one thing you can do that actually makes it not happen, is you can sleep on your side. If you sleep on your back, then it can happen, and if you go on your side, it doesn't happen.
I typically sleep on my stomach.
That's
You're
bad,
probably
man.
good. You're probably good.
Why?
It's not
bad for your neck.
for you, but
Why?
You think about it. Your neck's all cranked up the entire night like this. You're gonna get some issues over time.
I tuck it into my chest.
You tuck it in, so you're sleeping on your face.
It's weird because like the setup is I have like I've got 4 pillows, like, so I got two stacked on top of that. Then I have one on top of that. That's kind of like my lounging thing. But when I go to sleep, I disassemble the pyramid of the top 3, and I put 2 sides, and then I kind of keep those 2 stacked there and tilt the middle one down, so I'm kind of surrounded. And then I'll alternate sides hugging a pillow or something, and I'm like crouched up like this. Like it's really hard to get to sleep. I have 5 because when I first got hit with a puck back in the day, I was addicted to nasal sprays for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And like it helped if my head was elevated, so I grew accustomed to like having lots of pillows, and I still do now, but it's fine now. But it takes a lot to get me to go to sleep now, so I kind of like I have to get my position. I'm like tucked up in like the pillow, and like my head is down in my chest, and I'm like have an arm wrapped around one pillow, and like I'm basically like this in my arm with a pillow in between.
Sounds decently comfy.
It's the shit. It's fucking awesome.
You have sleeping issues?
Oh, hell yeah. I can nap like a motherfucker, but when I need to sleep, I don't sleep.
I know, it's weird. You have that. Like, sometimes where, say you're in the family room watching a movie, and it's just dark, pitch dark, you're watching this movie, and you're falling asleep the whole time.
In an uncomfortable position.
The movie ends, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed now. I'll be able to fall asleep easy because I was dozing off the entire movie. Getting to bed, you can't fall asleep for like 2 hours sometimes. So my hypothesis is that, I actually researched a little bit about this, that being in like a really dark room before you go to bed, it decreases your melatonin levels. Melatonin helps you to sleep, and that's why a lot of people take this vitamin melatonin that helps them to go to sleep. So what I found, or what I read, is that you should look at a light, basically. Just kind of be in the presence of a light before you go to bed, and somehow that helps.
I have my lights on up until I go to sleep.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Still have a hard time sleeping.
As long as it's like not computer light sort of thing. You want
and Netflix isn't helping.
Like, no, not a computer light. You want like a actual like fluorescent.
I would say
light.
Incandescent. Fluorescent
or
worse.
incandescent. Yeah, incandescent.
Because there's that whole controversy going on.
One.
Like cities have been getting, is it fluorescent or maybe LED lights? All these other lights that are like white light for their streets and stuff, but now like it's wrecking people's sleep, so now they're actually going back to older incandescent lights or changing it to more orange lights. Yeah, anyways.
I downloaded this app on my phone that helps to minimize the blue light
Oh, is
on
it
my
Flux?
screen.
Is it Flux?
I have that too. It's like a nighttime shift, right?
I just have it on all the time.
It like
And you
it
can change
softens the
percentage.
it softens the colors for mine at 6 p.m. It's like the Apple feature they built into these new OSs.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
used to have a program on my computer, but then it annoyed me when I was playing games, so I got rid of it. But it, yeah, made it all orange and stuff.
Yeah, mine does the orange tint too. Yeah.
Hmm.
I can change the tint on mine, actually.
But anyways, since Brock has like spooked the shit out of us and my asshole's puckered into oblivion, do you guys want to maybe wrap it up here so I don't dream about demons all night? About plugging my orifices?
Well,
Sure.
how is stopping when it's still in your mind right now helping?
I'm just trying to segue to a close. We're going deep in here, aren't we?
There we are.
Yeah, we are actually.
Ease. You're
I'm
ruining
kinda
the
like,
facade.
bring it on, Shadow Thing. I'll destroy you.
Well, you heard it here first. Sam's going to get butt fucked by a ghost tonight.
Oh, man.
And
It
just to
can't beat
reiterate,
me. I'm immortal.
yeah, well, if
I can't be
you
stopped.
open your eyes and you peer into death, just whisper in its ear, it's not Trump, it's your mixtape, bitch.
That's so good.
All right, Brock.
Alright, yeah, so this has been The Moderates, episode 5 or something. We are now leaving because we want to leave.